Hello, everybody, and welcome back to WNBA 365. After an exciting Game 3 of the WNBA Finals, we're here to break it down for you, have a little chit-chat, a little discussion. And we're also going to be going over the WNBA All-First and All-Second teams, maybe getting a little bit of an argument about that. We don't know. Who knows? But yeah, alongside Crystal Thomas and Tanisha Stewart tonight. Ladies, how you doing?
Hey, hey, hey.
Hey, everyone, and shout out to Marquez who couldn't be on the show tonight.
Shout out to Marquez. He's busy at LSU, sweating to death because his dorm air conditioning is broken. So prayers for Marquez. Um, actually speaking of which, before we get on to the WNBA content, I'd like to extend a heartfelt congratulations to Marquez. He recently landed a gig for News for San Antonio as a Spurs Zone contributor. So Marquez, if you're watching, good job, buddy. We'll be reading your stuff in the future. You better make it good, okay? Because you're representing us now, right? Okay. So, to the game results. Ladies, this one was not close either, but it was in favor of the Sparks this time. You're probably feeling pretty good about that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so Sparks 92, Lynx 75. Did I get that right? The website's not loading. I think I got that right.
9275, correct?
92.75. Okay, WNBA.com is failing me, but Shorty is not failing it. So, guys, the Sparks got off to a really hot start in this game. Like they're out. What was the run? I think it was like 30-9 or something like that.
Yeah,
What do you think was the main factor in them getting out to such a hot start?
Uh, well, I think it had a lot to do with Candace Parker actually being a little bit more aggressive. The past, well, not the past two games, but last game she was a little passive, and we saw what happened. I mean, there would be times where she wouldn't really take shots. There'd be times where she would kind of just hesitate to get her thing going. But today she was a little bit more aggressive, and I think it worked out in her favor. I mean, there were some points where I think she could have passed the ball a little bit more, but she did exactly what she needed to do in order for them to secure the win.
Yeah, most definitely. Especially when it comes to Parker. I mean, she was doing pretty much all the things she wasn't doing, in game two. She was actually moving and cutting instead of, staying on the perimeter and floating. She was taking it to the basket, being aggressive. And that's something she wasn't doing in the last game, just scoring 6 points the entire game. But she had already in this game, scored six or at least more than 6 points in the first quarter. So, just her activeness, all around the floor, helped them to get off to a great start.
Yeah, Batman and Batman, as so lovingly dubbed by Shanae Glumake, her sister NECA and Candace Parker both had terrific games here. They both scored over 20 points, both grabbed 9 rebounds, both shot the ball effectively and efficiently. But Shorty and Crystal, I think this game was kind of the story of the Sparks role players. Wouldn't you agree? Essence Carson in particular had a terrific game. She was 6 for 10 from the field, made all 4 of her three-pointer attempts, scored 16 points. And Elena Beard, who once again usually known as a defensive specialist, she scored 15 on 7-11 shooting. She had 7 assists. She's the Sparks' leading assister. So, what do you really? What does that really say about the Sparks' game plan to you guys?
Shorty, you first, or is it me?
You go.
Well, I think you know what? I think we have been waiting for a game, especially in the postseason, and especially since after the Olympic break from Essence like this for a while, and she came through big. Um, I think they realized that it's been 13, 14 years, and nobody on LA, I think except for On Waters, has a ring, so nobody's really tasted what it feels like to be a champion yet. And I think they realize it. I mean, like you said, they came out 30-8. They have the Lynx at 8 points, and I mean, that's hard to do with a team as good as the Lynx is, and I think Essence, you know what? Hopefully Essence can do it again. Hopefully she can be consistent, but this was, I think this was her showing, her coming out to the teams like, hey, I can do this, and just believe in me, I got your back. And she did a good job. I mean, just witnessing what she did out there today was pretty good. You could tell the confidence that her team had in her. You could tell the confidence she had in herself, and hopefully it carries over to game 4.
Yeah, most definitely. It was good seeing our two defensive specialists, come out offensively and, contribute because, LA is going to need that from, those two, not only, again, the defensive side, but the offensive side, which did a great job holding Maya Moore to just 9 points. So
Yeah,
when you can do that, overall you can have a good game. But, they have to come out offensively if they wanted to win this game overall. 16 points for Essex, 15 for no, 15, yeah, for AB. So, when those two get it going offensively, it's always a good night for LA.
Yeah, and Shorty, you brought up the point. Maya only had 9 points. She only took 7 shots. I think in the first two games, people were making one of the narratives, one of the storylines, if you will, was that the reigning MVP Nneka Ogwumike was not as involved as she should have been. This game, Maya Moore only took 7 shots. The Lynx aren't going to win if the Lynx aren't going to win that many games if their best player, one of the best players in the world, isn't scoring the basketball.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And it seemed like in this, entire series, each game has been parallel to one another. In game one, it was Maya Moore who was held to 0 for shooting. Of course, she ultimately scored 18 points. But again, for the Lynx, and I don't think I should have to, state this because they're three-time champions. So they should know that, if they want to win at this level in the finals, you have to get Maya Moore more involved. And she can't come in late in the third quarter like she did in game one, and she most certainly can't score under 10 points like she did tonight. You have to get her involved, in this series if they want to, pull it off.
Crystal, you have
um,
anything to add to that?
well, first I want to say I do hope Janelle McCarville's okay.
Yes.
Same
I
here.
hate to see any player get injured, despite if they're on my team or not. It was a pretty scary moment, and witnessing it did not look good. I'm not sure if it was a leg or a back or whatever, but she was on the ground for a while and had to be helped off. Couldn't walk in her own power, so hopefully she's okay. And like Shorty said, I mean, there were times where I had no idea Maya Moore was on the court tonight, and not with all due respect, Maya Moore is a player where normally when she's on the court, you see her at all times. You have to worry about her. You have to worry about her getting the ball. You have to worry about her playing off ball. She's just a
Right.
great
Right.
player. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I thought I froze. Sorry. And she's such a great player. She's one of those players where anytime she's on the court, you want to know she is at all times. But today, there was times where I don't even think she knew she was out there. Um, they could have really used her a lot today, and we always normally see this happen. If you can shut down Maya Moore and sometimes make Sylvia Fowles limited, you can stop. And today, that's exactly what they did. They held Maya Moore to 9 points, and I think those 9 came from, if I remember, the first half mostly. I don't know if she scored it all in the fourth quarter. I could be wrong, but if I'm thinking from memory, I don't remember her taking a shot at all. But like you said, I mean, she has to take more than 7 shots. You have to get the ball in her hands, and if you can't get the ball in her hands, and that's where they ultimately fell. And if they want to at least make it competitive, they got to get the ball in her hands a little bit more.
Right, right. And one of the there's another stat I wanted to bring up with you guys. The Minnesota Lynx are a terrific rebounding team. They're a terrific defensive team, and we saw that in the first two games of the series, where the Sparks really could not attack the glass because the Lynx were all over it. Minnesota only had 24 rebounds tonight. What does that tell you guys about the effort, the extra effort the Sparks are putting in on the glass?
Is that you, Shorty?
Well, I think overall, LA, did pretty good, even though they only got 29 rebounds, but still, those 11 offensive rebounds was very, crucial for them. And not only in this game, but this is probably one of their best rebounding nights when it comes to offensive rebounding throughout the whole entire year because LA is a team that's nearly bottom to last in offensive rebounding. So for them to get those 11 offensive boards were really big for them. But overall, just looking at the stat sheet, I necessarily both teams couldn't really rebound the way they wanted to, especially for the Lynx because both teams were hitting their shots. Minnesota shot 48% from the field. LA shot 54%. So both teams were efficient, and because of that, there weren't a lot of rebounds to go around. But for the rebounds that were available, LA actually got the rebounding edge in that category tonight.
Um, yeah, I mean, we all know that LA has a three-headed monster down there when it comes to the post, and they probably have, if not the most athletic post in the league, some of the most athletic post in the league. And like Shorty said, they didn't really get a huge upper hand on Minnesota, but it seems like they were in the right spots at the right time. They knew which side the ball was going to come off at the rim, and there was a couple of times where LA kind of disappeared under there, and for one, I think Chrissy took a shot and nobody was there. They kind of just ran away. Um, but when they realized what they were doing, and they fixed it, they actually worked it out, and they were actually able to, uh, fix their rebounding issues. I don't think it's going to be enough, though. They got to keep going because we all know LA's allergic to rebounding. So if LA can keep it going and beat Minnesota in rebounding again, I think they should be able to, come off with another victory.
All right. Now on the flip side, Minnesota is now in a do or die situation. You guys are Cheryl Reeve for a second. What do you do for your team? What do you adjust, if anything?
Crystal?
Well, why y'all gotta ask me? Well, okay. Well, see, first you have to see if you get McCarville back. That's one. McCarville is a physical player for them. She gets, she's a great passer out of the post area, and especially when you have the trees in the middle of the post, that's what you need. I mean, you need somebody who can see over there and make those crisp passes. So first you have to see if you get McCarville back. If you don't get McCarville back, then you got to figure out, your matchups. You have to see, this is where LA killed us. And apparently today, LA just beat them defensively. So they have to see if they can probably find out, a better game plan to get mine more open, maybe using more screens, maybe having her flash the basket a little bit. Because there was a point where LA was playing pretty aggressive defense. We kind of seen it in game one where it was Minnesota who was playing aggressive defense, and KT was able to flash the basket a couple of times. So then you have to see, okay, what do we have to do to get Maya more open? Because she didn't get any touches. 7 touches for your future star player is not good at all. And they just have to figure out if they can get Waylon a little bit open to get the ball moving, and if not, then I guess they're going to be in another dire situation than they are now.
Yeah, for Minnesota to, get back in this with their backs to the wall, for starters, like, KT brought up, get Maya Moore established, get her more touches than, 7 touches like she did in this game. Also, they got to do better, from the 3-point line. In their last game, they shot, over 40%. This game, only 27%. So they got to do better from there. They got to crash the boards and get the boards. As it was brought up, LA is not a good rebounding team. So on a night where they're out rebounding you, you can't allow that to happen. Last game for Minnesota, 47 rebounds total. They got to keep crashing the boards. Also, try to get, more backdoor cuts if they can. I think that was one of the things that was working for them in this game, that helped them cut the lead to 8, going into halftime. Minnesota, it was their turn to, score off the backdoor cuts, and they was definitely getting that. Also, get, Money Moan involved as well. 9 points for her as well. She needs more touches. Run more plays for Waylon as well. So if they just go back to all the things that worked for them in game 2, I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, and there's an article published on WNBA.com about this before the game. It was entitled "Practice Report: No More Chess Games." And basically in the article, Cheryl Reeve said, look, there's no adjustment that can be made at this point of the season that the other team is going to be surprised by. Players just have to come out and make plays. Do you guys necessarily agree with that sentiment? Is this all about efforting at this point? Or are there still some X's and O's that Minnesota can still some switches they can flip in order to turn this around?
I say yes and no. And the reason why I say that is because if there's no adjustments that need to be made, then how come LA, would they beat them this game? if that's the case, and LA made a lot of adjustments. I mean, we saw Candace Parker made an adjustment offensively. We saw the team defensively play a little bit better. So I think, yes, you can make some adjustments. You have to. I mean, just because you're in the finals and just because it's late in the season, you can't just get complacent now and just say, oh, well, they're going to know everything. Well, you know what? If they can't stop it, doesn't matter if they know it or not. I can run the same play 5 times in a row, and if the team I'm playing against doesn't catch on, well, guess what? I'm not going to stop playing it. If the team doesn't adjust to the play that I'm running, then why stop? So I think yes and no, because they're going to have to adjust. The way that LA played them today, they adjusted to Minnesota's system and they beat them at their game. So I think Cheryl Reeves is going to go back to the drawing board and look at what they did wrong and make a few minor adjustments.
Yeah, I definitely agree. What Crystal said. It's all about effort. And of course, there's still the X's and O's that each coach have to lay down their game plan. But ultimately, the chess game is out. Both teams know each other very well, have scouted each other very well, starting from the regular season. So nothing will come a surprise to both teams. They'll just have to, when it comes to effort, both teams will just have to make plays. And it's the little things, whether it's an extra cut, extra pass, get an extra defensive rebound. And so it's all going to come down to the players and that extra effort, to come out in the series for both teams.
And Cheryl Reeves is probably not going to lay out her entire coaching strategy to WNBA.com at this point, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so the next game Sunday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. We're on the Mothership Network again. Thank goodness. So we'll be back with you maybe Sunday night, maybe Monday. We're not sure yet, but we will be recapping that game for you, regardless of the results, because I know we're mostly Sparks fans here. I'm impartial. Marquez is impartial, so we will do our best in that department. Okay, so another thing I wanted to discuss with you guys today is that the All-WNBA first and second teams were released today. Going over that really quickly. The All-WNBA first team consisted of Nneka Ogwumike, Tina Charles, Maya Moore, Elena Deladon, and Sue Bird, while the All-WNBA second team consisted of Angel McCautry, Brianna Stewart, Sylvia Fowles, Diana Taurasi, and Jewel Lloyd. Okay, guys. There are a couple questions I want to ask you about this. First of all, are you okay with this list? Simple question.
Overall, yeah, with probably a couple of names missing.
Yeah, with the first team, overall, I agree with that, except for the fact that Maya Moore is listed as a New York Liberty player.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't know what happened when she was tonight. Maybe she got traded to New York. Who knows? But I think, guys, inevitably the question is going to be brought up. Where is Candace Parker? Where is Lindsay Whalen? Where is my favorite player? Blah blah blah. There aren't enough positions on this team where you can reward all the deserving players. That's just the fact of the matter. I think we can argue about, well, Maya Moore is not a guard, Elena Deladon is not a guard, Tina Charles isn't a center, until we're blue in the face. But no matter how much you fudge the positions, there's simply 10 positions isn't enough to reward all the deserving players. So I have a proposal for you two. What if we just eliminate the positions for all WNBA teams and just say, okay, here are the first 5 best players, here are the second best 5 players. What do you think about that?
Do you mean for all WNBA team, as in like the award, or do you just mean for positions in general?
Just the award.
Oh, well then yeah. If you're doing it for award purposes, yes. But at the same time, I understand why they're doing it, because they're like, oh, I think this is the best person at this position. Or they could just make 3 all WNBA teams.
In my
like there's enough.
In my case, I think the position should be eliminated. I mean, and especially for this season, it seemed like most of the players, the top players that came out on top this year were post players. The forwards and the C's, they're the ones who came out and dominated. So it's not necessarily good that the league just have to force a guard in there, and the fact that they have to force Maya Moore to guard tells you that the post players dominated this season.
I think it's kind of funny because they list Maya Moore as a guard, right? But she's not listed as a guard on the website. I don't believe. I haven't looked at it in a while. But usually Elena Deladon is listed as the guard forward, or usually Angel McClarty is the one who magically starts playing guard whenever the All-WNBA teams are announced. So, and then of course you have the argument, well, Candace Parker, she plays all 5 positions. That's a different argument. We know how you feel about that, right?
Can I say something about that?
Please go ahead.
First of all, Candace Parker does not play 5 positions, maybe like 4.5. And I'll give her a half because I don't even know if I'd want her to play any guard position. So I'd rather her stick with 3, 4, and 5. So I'll say like 3.5 positions. I think that's what they like to give post players who have a little bit of a handle, who are a little bit athletic. But I don't know, because honestly, and I love CP, but do you really want her running point for your team? I don't think so. I barely want her shooting 3-pointers. So, that's a crazy argument. Like you said, we'll save that for another time.
Shorty, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't want CP. I mean, I don't mind her, dishing out the assists. That's one of the reasons why Batman is so successful, because they have the high-low game going for them. But other than that, I don't want her bringing up the ball, up the floor, and I don't want her taking ill-advised threes either. Good thing she limited that in this game to only 2 attempts. Of course, 0 of 2 attempts, but again, she can't play all 5. Yeah, she can't play all 5 positions. No.
Yeah, and something else on this something else I wanted to talk about on this subject. The guards that were listed. I felt, this is just my opinion, but I felt players like Sugar Rogers, Tiffany Hayes, Christy Tolliver, their performances were kind of overlooked this season when it comes to all the WNBA awards. Now, that's kind of the problem with that is there's just fewer guard spots available on the All-WNBA team, so someone's got to get left out, right? And then even with forwards, well, Parker got left out, right? So how do you amend that? Do you just make a third All-WNBA team, or do the players just suck it up and try harder next year? What do you think?
I'm so sorry. I hit a bad patch. Can you please repeat the last couple of sentences of that question?
Last couple of sentences. Okay, so how do you amend for the fact that guards are kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to All-WNBA teams because there are fewer available positions?
Are you saying, do I think guards are at a disadvantage?
Yeah, just how would you amend for it? Because there's only 4 available guard positions on the All-WNBA first and second teams compared to 6 forward positions.
I never thought of it like that. You could have a point. I never really thought of it like that. And I will say, going back to the Chrissy Tolliver thing, when you talk about how she was overlooked, very overlooked. I was looking at her stats. She only had 45 turnovers to her 130 assists. Like, anybody who knows, Chrissy Tolliver's come a long way from her assist to turnover ratio, because that girl used to turn the ball over every time she blinked. And now she just seems to like she's making better decisions. And I think that right there should have gotten her a chance at least on second team. But I've never realized that, like you said, I mean, there's not enough guard positions for that spot. I think they're trying to give centers some love because, as we all know, especially, and I hate to compare the men's game to the women's game, but we all know in the men's game, the center is a diminishing, position. All the centers now are like 6'10", 6'11", and very athletic. So I think that's why they're trying to give the post players a little bit of love to let them know, like, hey, we know you guys still exist. We're not going to, get rid of your position. And I think that's a possibility on why they have way more posts in those All-WNBA teams except for guards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in my opinion, I think that is just one of the reasons why, positions should be eliminated. So when they pick at least the best post players out of the bunch, then I think more guards may have a chance to have a shot, on the list. instead of, again, trying to fit, certain guards on there. And then when they choose them, they pick the top, four or three guards,
Yeah.
at least for this list, the top three guards that, they feel were the best this season. And Jewel Lloyd, in my opinion, can be debatable, but that's another story in itself. But again, I think eliminating the positions once again, I think will help, the guards in the future on the list.
So, looking at seeing as how there are so many forwards on this list and the guards are so debatable, like you said, do you think the WNBA is headed in maybe an opposite direction of the NBA, where the forwards are becoming more of the focal point, if you will, on teams rather than the guards?
I think it depends on the type of forward, because if you look at the forwards who made the list, people like NECA and Angel and Maya Moore, like, they're athletic. They're not your typical forwards that are kind of slow and are just, for a big body. They're forwards that can run the floor. So I think I don't think it's going in a way where the centers are, how the NBA is, where the centers are no more. Because you can't really have a league without guards, because you have all these athletic forwards, but who's going to give them the ball?
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be one of those leagues where it's like, oh, okay, NECA's this quick, but, let's have a play point guard. It's not going to work. So I don't think it's going in the opposite direction as far as, like, the guard positions are leaving. I just think that as of right now, there probably is a need for some quality guards, because there's a lot of good guards in the WNBA, but kind of like how we were talking about quality over quantity, there's a lot of guards that are so-so as well. So I just think that right now there's more decent forwards than there is guards, but I don't think guards are necessarily going extinct.
Yeah, I think the argument was on the reverse side, if post players were going extinct. And I don't think it's a question of post players, at least in the WNBA, going extinct. I just think that a lot of hybrid forwards are rising. Yeah, we talk about Maya Moore, Angel McCoughtry, and Nneka Ogwumike. And these are hybrid forwards who can, again, put the ball on the floor, shoot from the perimeter, shoot from beyond the arc. Look at Nneka, who has her 3-point game, her 3-point percentage, was very high this season. So I think it's just the hybrid, forwards in the league that is up on the rise.
So perhaps just the forward position in itself is evolving to a point where more is being asked of them on both ends of the floor, you would say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, so I think that horse is beaten dead enough. One more thing for tonight, just a little bit of semi-major news. Phoenix Mercury re-signed head coach Sandy Burdell for multiple years. I think this might be something that was a little unexpected, to be honest, because Mercury, for at least maybe 2/3 of the season, kind of underachieved, I would say, because a lot of people pick them, myself included, pick them to be maybe in the WNBA finals this season. But obviously that didn't happen. Team chemistry seemed low. They had a lot of star talent that was underachieving. They did turn it on in the final portion of the season after the Olympics to make a little mini run in the playoffs there. But ultimately, it was a disappointing season for Phoenix. But Sandy gets re-signed anyway. So what do you guys think? Do you think this is the right move on the part of Phoenix management?
Crystal?
I wasn't really, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
I wasn't surprised that she was resigned. I do think she's going to be under a watchful eye, though, because last season was pretty bad. But the reason how I kind of figured she was going to be back is she only was there for that was her second year. And I think most of the time they give coaches about 3-4 years to see what they could do. I kind of knew she wasn't going to get fired.
Sure, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say yes and no, only because, I wasn't for sure. I heard a lot of Phoenix fans complain and say, oh, well, she needs to be fired. She's not doing this. The team is performing badly. But, of course, not everything is on the coach. Of course, they're supposed to lay out the game plan. But at the end of the day, if the players don't execute, the game plan, well, then some fault should be put on them as well. So, You know, I wasn't for sure, but I figured that, you know, she would be brought back. And the word that, you know, kept floating around, especially in the press release, is continuity. You know, so they wanted that, you know, instead of just switching coaches, you know, left and right, you know, try to build some continuity between her system and the players, you know, and of course, in just my personal opinion, I don't think it would make sense to switch her now when, you know, there's going to be a lot of turnout, you know, in the on the Phoenix Mercury roster in the upcoming years. Penny has left, Harding has left. We don't know how long Diana has. So, you know, with players soon to be, you know, up and leaving, you know, you want to build that continuity between the rest of her younger core.
Yeah, and that's a good point. I think for a little bit of I'm not sure if this analogy is totally correct, but in Chicago, we the Jay Cutler apologists for the Chicago Bears. They have a little saying. Well, he's had like 5 offensive coordinators in 7 seasons, or however long he's been here now. I don't know. I haven't been keeping track, but that's Shorty. That kind of speaks to your point, where the Phoenix Mercury are kind of at a turning point in their franchise, where the older players are retiring. You're bringing in new talent, and you want a coach who's familiar with the people who are already there and who can sort of bring the young players along and see that this new era is ushered in properly, right?
Right.
Yeah, right. Okay, so okay, I think that'll about do it for tonight. Does anybody have any final questions, comments, profound statements?
I think I'm gonna need a throat lozenger because I screamed very loud, and it was nice meeting Mike. One of the, he was a co-host on here one time. Nice to meet you, Mike. Um, it was fun. Snoop Dogg was there. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Yeah, my final thoughts is, I did not expect a blowout at all. I was expecting LA to come out more aggressive and Minnesota to counter that, but the complete opposite happened. LA just ran the tables the whole entire game. It got as close as 8 points at one time, but LA, after the second half, built a 14-point lead and never looked back. And so it's going to be an interesting game 4 coming Sunday. And as Crystal brought up, it was good seeing Snoop Dogg in the house.
All right. With that, we'll be signing off for tonight. Keep in mind, the game 4 of the WNBA Finals will be Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. We'll be with you shortly after, either Sunday night or Monday night, depending on when Crystal is done eating. We'll be with you as soon as possible. Trust me, we're men of the people. We had 3 viewers tonight. That's excellent for us. Thank you so much, guys. We do it all for you. All right. I'm your quasi-host, Eric Nemchak, signing off for WNBA 365 Network. Have a good night, everybody.